Welcome back to the Cop Out Bros podcast. Jason and I are fresh off the segment detailing yet another senseless school shooting incident. They're all senseless, but this one takes the fucking cake because they're literally trying to train their child how to get away with this dysfunction.
One thing I do want to make clear real quick, excuse me, is that there is a difference, like I said, between parents like this getting involved and actually encouraging or aiding and abetting acts like this. And I'm not, at least speaking for me at least, I am not saying and I don't agree the fact that every time in the news or otherwise a child acts up or does something bad, it's the parent's fault. I'm not saying that. I like to believe Terrence wouldn't say that either. So I just want to put that out there that it's not always a parent's fault, and we shouldn't always blame the parents for everything a child does wrong. Even though they are immature humans, they are still individuals and can still go against and act against how their parents try to raise them. So I just want to put that out there.
Yep. In the second segment, Jason, why are so many dumbass athletes trying to fake their vaccination status?
Well, not to get off topic here, but you know what? We can't just put that on athletes because we've seen in the news too that regular non-celebrity individuals have done the same for the purpose of traveling. Um, for these particular athletes that we're going to talk about, it's probably not so much for traveling per se, but just for more convenience. They didn't want to have to follow a certain standard of things, so they, lied, try to get an easier path to what they want to do, which in this case is playing sports. So that's what I'll say to that question.
Yeah, but we should probably talk about this because I'm referencing a CNN article by David Close. NFL suspends 3 players, including Bucs Antonio Brown, for violating COVID-19 protocols. The National Football League has suspended 3 players, including Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Antonio Brown, for 3 games without pay following a league investigation that determined that 3 violated COVID-19 protocols. Bucs safety Mike Edwards and free agent wide receiver John Franklin III, who had been on the Bucs practice squad, were the other players suspended. On November 18th, the NFL announced it was reviewing accusations that Brown had owned fake COVID-19 vax cards in an attempt to undermine NFL protocols. Now, this is where it takes the cake. The accusations were made by Steven Ruiz, Brown's former at-home chef in Tampa Bay, in a Tampa Bay Times exclusive report. Now, Jason, I understand that you already indicated a rationale, be it flawed, for why somebody would want to fake their vaccination status. But basically being found out for faking your vaccination status because you wouldn't pay your chef, that's kind of a scumbag move, don't you think?
That is a total Antonio Brown type move based on some of the other stuff he's been, in the news for outside of playing football. But yeah, it almost reminds me of the movie Waiting. Have you seen that with Ryan Reynolds and I think Justin Long is his name?
Yes, I have seen the movie Waiting. It's actually pretty good.
Exactly. So basically, in that movie, the movie's about restaurant employees, whatnot, and the hijinks and antics that they go through in the restaurant. But one line in the movie that Ryan Reynolds says, he says, "Never f with the people who make your food." Now he was referring to it in a different context when it comes to restaurant people spitting on your food and stuff like that. But that whenever I heard that who the accusation came from, because his chef, the person who makes his food, wasn't happy. Again, I thought of that's why you don't mess with people who make your food, stuff like that. So, now I'm not going to say like you that their reasoning is flawed because it's what they chose to do. Not saying I agree with what they did or that other people should emulate this stuff, That's what they chose to do. That was their reasoning and rationale. I get it. Um, but my question is, you mentioned November 18th, the NFL announced that they're looking into this. November 18th. Terrence, when did the NFL season start? As far as like week one? Like what month?
It usually starts what, September?
Exactly. So we're 2 months into the season, and the NFL is only looking into this because somebody essentially ratted on Antonio Brown about the fake vax cards. So my question is, did they not look into, as far as the players who didn't get vaccinated at their in the team organization facilities? Did they not look into all these other people with the vax cards in regards to making sure they're actually vaccinated? Why are they? Again, the only reason they're looking into this is because somebody told them. Had this chef not said anything, no one would have known. In the NFL, seemingly because they didn't do their due diligence, or at least they need to get a better bouncer checking IDs essentially, or checking vax cards. You know, so that's really my question there. And I did find an article from NFL.com that does reference that there should be some concern while looking into other people using fake vax cards. And if NFL in that article, on NFL.com, they did acknowledge the possibility of that being the case. They did say again that the number may be low because 80% of the people who said they were vaccinated got vaccinated at their team's facilities. So, from that perspective, I agree the number may be low, but still, like you said, the 3 people got suspended here from the Tampa Bay Bucks organization. So is it safe to say that maybe one person on the team might be presenting a fake vax card? Maybe that's high. I don't know. But there's still probably somebody else that's besides Antonio Brown and these 2 other guys that are doing fake vax cards. Now again, 2+ months into the season. I mean, what are we at? Week 14 now, and it's a 17-week season, so the season's almost over, and they're just now finding out about this. So I think this is definitely something the NFL should look into for next year. If now, knock on all the wood in my house, hopefully next December we're not still dealing with a pandemic. Knock on wood, and everybody else who's listening to this needs to be knocking too. But still, so that's I'm more disappointed with the NFL with this. I mean, they were definitely one of the main leagues touting, "Hey, we got these high vax numbers," which I'm sure they do. But I'm disappointed to say that they weren't vetting all this stuff. Other people who weren't uh, vaccinated at their team facilities. So disappointed there.
So you're more disappointed in the NFL than you are in Antonio Brown not paying a chef?
Yes, I'm not. Well, the chef part is more comical. I argue that is completely hilarious. Um, in regards to that same unpaid chef ratting him out for the fake vax card. Um, so that, if nothing else, as a lesson for all you people listening, that hey, if you're gonna do dirt and you're gonna share that dirt with somebody, make sure you keep that person that you share it with happy. Otherwise, they have that dirt, they can give it to somebody who you don't want to know that. So, i.e., the NFL. So, um, but yeah. I mean, again, not saying that I am encouraging anybody to get fake vax cards because of the criminal liability that's going to come along with that. And we'll talk about that too. But I understand why people would want to do it. I get it. But it is also the responsibility of someone, in this case, employer, to check and make sure that it's valid. Would you not agree with that, sir?
Yeah, I think the NFL has some culpability. I for a $4 billion industry, they should probably have a better handle on that.
Now, seemingly, I'll say that nothing came of it when it comes to. Didn't hear any news from the Bucks about there being COVID spread around. I don't recall anything like that. Let me know if you remember something towards that effect. So that's good if that wasn't the case. But still, NFL, where you at on this one? So um, before I go into the whole legal part of it, what are your thoughts about this situation, Terrence?
I mean, already already chimed in a little bit about the chef part. I think he's literally biting the hand that feeds. And so I think you touched on this. This is definitely on brand with who Antonio Brown has been. Like I remember when everybody was making people either fell in two camps when he made that video um, when he was in Pittsburgh and Tomlin was, basically giving his speech in the locker room, and people fell into two camps. They either thought that shit was hilarious or they thought that shit was irksome. And I'm like, this guy's tacky as hell. I don't care how talented you are. That's fucking tacky. I happen to be in the latter camp just because, dude, why you putting this black head coach in jeopardy, dog? What you doing? You're muted. Just saying.
You are a professional. Turn your mic on. Um, hashtag Mike and Mike for all those who listen to that show are used to. But yeah, what I was saying is it's just really just it was just that incident was a case of him following likes and views and stuff like that, and I get it. But he's probably gonna get that stuff no matter what he does anyway. Um, but when it comes to the legal side of this, and not to say that Antonio Brown's going to see the full brunt of this, but I did find multiple articles, including ones from pretty much pick a state. But essentially, the DOJ, Department of Justice, has come out and said that faking a Vax card or using any type of documentation with a falsified, you know, government seal on it, that's a felony, punishable by either 5 years in jail or a fine of $5,000. Now, I can guess which punishment Antonio Brown's going to get if he does get anything. I can guess. You guys can use whatever judgment you want on that. No need to go into it. But putting that out there as to why I say that no one should be doing this, because I don't know about you, Terrence, but I'm not really willing to risk anything that's going to put me in jeopardy of having to do 5 years in prison. I mean, I'm too pretty for prison, so I can't be doing that. But
Prison can fix that.
exactly my point. So I don't want to change that. But no. Or even the $5,000. I'm not trying to give up $5,000 just so I can go to Hawaii. You know, like some people have been trying to do. I'm like, no, bro, I'm good. But again, I say it's not worth it. The risk. Clearly, Antonio Brown, people want to travel to Hawaii, or anybody else using fake vax cards. Now, I'd imagine the full brunt of the punishments like this are going to go to people dealing, the dealers, dealing out the fake vax cards. Like they always say, I don't want the small fish, I want the big time. They don't want to fry Antonio Brown, they want to fry his dealer. So, but yeah, folks, that's a punishment for fake vax cards, or not even just fake vax cards, using a fake seal, government seal. And that's what really the crime is, the seal, the card. I can present a fake vax card with no seal on it. That may or may not be a crime. But I guess with no seal, people can probably figure it out. So, and again, that's a federal crime, not just state. So there's no state laws about this. It's federal. So if the government wanted to come down on it, because clearly publicized. Now, in the same NFL.com article, this is also brought up. A spokesperson for the U.S. Department of Justice declined to comment to Pelissero, the author of this article, on this specific matter regarding Brown. Now, again, you probably don't get much of a comment if they do want to do something or if they don't. But one last thing here, and I'm sure you're probably going to go into it. We mentioned about all these athletes presenting fake vax cards. Antonio Brown's not the only pro athlete who has been busted for doing this. San Jose Sharks forward, or now former forward, Evander Kane, was suspended back in October for 21 games, which is about a fourth of the NHL season, for an established violation, quote, of the NHLPA COVID-19 protocol. Sources confirmed earlier that month, again in October, that Kane was being investigated over allegations that he submitted a fake COVID-19 vax card to the NHL and the Sharks. While the NHL and the NHLPA do not have a vaccine mandate for the 2021-22 season, vax players are have far fewer restrictions on them than do the unvaxxed, which pretty much is the same for Antonio Brown. Different set of things, guidelines when it comes to meetings this, meetings that. You and I talked about the NFL guidelines or protocols for vax and unvaxxed on the previous episode. So, folks, find that episode, go to the descriptions, find it. We'll talk about it there. But yeah, and even same thing for Kane. They wanted to play their sport, which they would have been allowed to do either way, but they wanted the path of least resistance. They don't have to do all that extra stuff. So they said, "Here's this fake vax card. I'm not getting vaccinated, but I still want that path of least resistance. So here's a fake vax card. I'll take my chances and go from there." Go ahead.
I'm surprised that neither one of us has already come up with a title for this disaster piece. Jabgate. I feel like controversy follows Tom Brady wherever he go, man. It's always some sort of gate.
Boom. Exactly. So fortunately, as much as I hate to do this to the Michigan quarterback Tom Brady, but yeah. So when we dabbled around with this topic, that episode title, and you said Jabgate earlier, I'm like, that's perfect because like you just said, it follows Brady along, even though he might not have nothing to do with it. Still, Spygate, Deflategate, Jabgate, perfect. So yeah, man. I'd be very, and maybe I should look this up for the show, but I'd be very curious of if there's any numbers out there for the total number of people who have presented or been busted for dealing fake vax cards. Because so I'd imagine overall, it's probably a good number of people that have done them. Not saying it's a high percentage, but total people wouldn't be shocked. Because again, there's people out there who don't want to get vaccinated, but they want that path of least resistance. I want to go to Hawaii, but I don't want to do a 14-day quarantine. I want to play in the NFL or NHL, but I don't want that, do all this extra stuff. Or I want to go to school here, but I don't want to get vaccinated. So here's my fake vax card. And again, risk reward. Do I want to risk this, federal crime, you know, or do I not? Is going to school here worth it? Is going to Hawaii worth it? For me, no. For person B or Antonio Brown, Evander Kane, or anybody else, it was clearly a yes. So
Yeah, I think biggest biggest issue for me, you if you don't lie about this shit, you might damn near lie about anything.
well, and true, and that's again going back to that same NFL.com article, which by the way is from December the 5th. Basically, they talked about that as well when it comes to Antonio Brown again suspended for 3 games, and Bucks coach Bruce Arians was asked about the Antonio Brown's future after his suspension is over, and basically, obviously, that was Arians' chance to say, "Hey, either way, hey, when his suspension's up, we're gonna still embrace him back to the team, so forth and so forth." Or once his suspension's over, he's done. Now, obviously, I didn't expect him to say the whole "he's done" part right then and there, but the fact that he didn't say anything about it, the fact that he didn't say option A, that leads you to believe that the door for option B, kicking him to the curb, is open. Because you got to keep in mind, they took a chance on to get him because of all his troubles in the past. So they put their necks out for him a little bit. And then from their perspective, they could say, well, you lied to us. We trusted you. And now for 3 games, we're not going to have you. Now, he may or may not be an important cog to their offense, but still, he's still a piece to their team. He's a piece to it. But for 3 games, he ain't going to be there. So, again, we are here on the Cowboy Bros are never advocating for anyone to lose their job. But I personally would not be surprised if when the suspension is over, if Antonio Brown will be a free agent, if you know what I mean. # waiver wire.
I don't think they're going to waive him. I think Brady is, and the Tampa Bay Bucks. Look, they'll say the politically correct thing. He's going to do these 3 games, and then they're going to have him suit up for the rest for the postseason.
And hey, great, and that may be the case. But I'm just saying, if it were anybody other than Antonio Brown, I would probably 100% agree with you. But hang on, but because of how he came to the Buccaneers based off what happened to him, in previous situations before between Steelers and him getting there, when it comes to his previous suspensions, that's why I say, hey, okay, I'm not going to 100% agree that they're going to bring him back because I think the door for option B, at the very least, is still cracked open. And not sure if you're going to go in to say anything here, but one thing I did want to just look up and look into is in regards to just how big of a piece of their offense he actually is. Because I been listening to some of the commentary on this, and people have been saying that he hasn't been a big part of their offense, and I was kind of like, really? And the only reason I bring this up, not making it about sports, but just kind of to the point of what you're saying, bringing it back to the team. In regards to total receptions, 2, 3, 4. He's 5th on the team in receptions. 5th. So again, only 42 targets in 14 games that they played, 13 games. So again, not to say he doesn't help, but he's not Chris Godwin. He's not Mike Evans. So again,
nobody's Mike Evans.
Yeah, I hear you, but that's what I'm saying. That door for option B, kicking him to the curb, is definitely at the very least, and I'd say more so, is at the very least cracked open just a little bit.
Yeah.
The reason I don't say wide open because they easily could have said we're just going to suspend him right now. We're going to let him go right now and be done. So
there's no he's they've already decided to suspend him 3 games. So
okay, but was that the NFL? Was that the league? Exactly what I'm saying. So the Bucks can still drop him right now, and he's still suspended for 3 games. But the Bucks can say, you know what, we're done. But now they haven't, and I get it. But that doesn't mean they're not going to say that in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever.
Well, you can tell me I was wrong when it happens.
I'm not advocating for that to happen. Just saying.
All right. That concludes our second segment on faking the funk on vaccination records, aka Jabgate. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about people that hate working out, and apparently Jason thinks that he's going to help you make it enjoyable anyway. Coming up next on Cal Park Bros.